What's going on? Today we're going to play the new fire type Scovillain EX. First I'm going to go over the list and then we have a couple games. And at the end I'll talk about some different ways to play the deck, if I think it's any good, where it stands, or if it stands anywhere in the meta, and just my overall thoughts on it. And as always, the deck list and timestamps are in the description. Scovillain is a stage 1 fire Pokemon with 260 hit points. It has an ability that says it is both grass and fire type, and its attack for 2 fire does 10 plus 70 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Now, as you can imagine, if we can get a little bit of damage on this guy, he starts hitting really hard. There is a few ways we're going to do that. One way is with Dodrio. Dodrio is a way to get damage and our draw engine. It says once during a turn we may put a damage counter on this Pokemon. If we do, draw a card. It also has an attack for 1 colorless that does 10 plus 30 more damage for each damage counter on it. So with its 100 hit points, we can put 90 damage on it, and then we can hit 280 for 1 energy on a 1 prize Pokemon. It is a pretty insane attacker. Our Radiant is going to be Charizard. I think a lot of people play Radiant Heatran in this deck. It synergizes with Scovillain, but it costs 3 energy. It's rough to build up, and Scovillain has the same attack, so I think we're better off having Radiant Charizard as a 1 energy attacking option at the end of the game. Now, as we build up damage on Dodrio, we can move it off the Dodrio onto the Scovillain with the Damage Pump card that says we can move 2 damage counters from one of our Pokemon to our other Pokemon in any way we like. We have Magma Basin, probably the most broken stadium card ever printed, that lets us accelerate an energy from our discard pile to one of our bench fire Pokemon, and if we do, put 2 damage counters on it. So that's 20 damage right there. We're already hitting 150. And then we have Calamitous Snowy Mountain that says if we attach an energy to a non-water basic Pokemon, it does 20 damage to it, so we have to attach to our Capsakid to get the damage. But having 2 different stadiums to put damage on a Pokemon is pretty nice, so that if we already have like the mountain in play from last turn, we can use it and then bump it with the Magma Basin and get 40 damage all in one turn. Prime Catcher is going to be our ace spec of choice. I know it's not very creative, but it is just a really good card. There's a Rescue Board and a Cleffa in here because it's like really important to be able to retreat. I found that out the hard way after a few games, but we need a Pokemon that can retreat to send up to be able to use Magma Basin and stuff. Other than that, the deck is pretty straightforward, and we are like extremely close to 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much everyone that's been subbing, and just 20 more and we can hit 1,000 and you'll never have to hear me say this again. So thank you very much, and let's get into the games. Alright, so we are up against Raging Bolt, and this should be a pretty solid matchup because we're both kind of trying to do the same thing in just taking big one-shots, but we evolved from a 1 prize Pokemon, so I think we kind of have an advantage in that sense, since like if they attack me this turn, they take a prize, and then if I can one-shot them next turn, I'll already be ahead in the prize exchange. Unless, of course, they play Briar and can somehow one-shot me with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, would be one of the only ways that they could make up the deficit. But they get their Greninja out and they have a Vessel, so looks like they are getting a pretty solid setup here. Yeah, they get their energy in the discards, so they can probably Sada now. This sequencing is a little interesting, but I don't know what cards they got off the Greninja and what they got off the Sada and stuff. But our setup is pretty perfect. The only rough part is the Prime Catcher in hand, and I don't know, I'll probably Ultra Ball away Prime Catcher in the top deck and evolve the bench and research. It's kind of tricky with this matchup. We need like a couple turns to build up damage, or a combination of like Snowy Mountain and Magma Basin, which isn't going to happen. And I also don't know if we have a way to retreat. So since we top decked a draw or one of our Dodrio, I probably will just use the Prime Catcher and maybe bring up the Ogerpon. I also opt to use the Pokestop. I'm not too sure about that one there. I don't know what exactly I was looking for. Maybe a fire energy or just another card to discard, but I just moved the 10 damage over to the the Scovillain, and I'm thinking about Prime Catchering. The problem is I could bring up the Ogerpon and potentially knock it out with my Scovillain, but I don't think I have any way to retreat. This might have been the game when I was like, oh wow, I definitely need an escape board in this deck. It could be in there, I really can't remember, so it's possible also I just whiffed it. But we get into a hand with not too much. I was hoping to get at least another Dodrio. Yeah, I should not attach, now I should attach. I've made that mistake before I originally thought that the Snowy Mountain did 2 damage counters to any stage Pokemon. I didn't realize it was just basics, so that was kind of unfortunate. But now we should be good to one-shot this whatever they leave in the active next turn with the Scovillain on the bench, as long as I can get into a Magma Basin. That's the only thing that makes it a little weird, because relying on hitting Rescue Board is kind of rough, and like I said, there's a chance it's not even in the build yet. I really don't remember. But in a perfect world, I'd already have it, and I could just attach, use the mountain to get 40 damage on my Capsakid, evolve, and one-shot anything. But now that I say that, it doesn't matter anymore because they replaced the stadium. This was an interesting choice by my opponent. They retreat into their Raging Bull, but they do end up passing. Now, I see their logic. They got boss in hand. They want to take the first 2 prizes. What they're kind of saying is, I don't think you can attack me next turn, but hopefully we will be able to. Because I think all I need is Magma Basin and maybe a Damage Pump, and we should be good to go. But even if we don't get it, I'm going to be Ionoing away their hand anyway. Now, I'm going to Vessel here. I don't need the energy, obviously, but I want to increase the odds that I get into the Magma Basin. And yeah, this is before I added the Rescue Board to the deck, so I do have to attach and hopefully get into the basin, which I had pretty good odds of getting into. And I think I can one-shot them now if I get a damage pump, maybe? I would have 40 damage on them, and that would be 250. So that must be enough if I'm retreating, right? Oh, it's 290. Can I not math? Oh yeah. Wow, that's embarrassing. For some reason I was doing 60 times, but it is 70 times, so that's like a perfect 290. Now, I don't think that they ever thought that that would happen. Now we're ahead in the prize trade, and we should be good to go to just win this game. Because that really is all that these like big beat stick matchups come down to, is whoever takes the first 2 prizes. Because, I don't know, the Bolt deck specifically is so consistent that it's kind of hard to get them to whiff off an Iono or something. They typically end up drawing a ton of cards, and then by the end of the game they'll often have enough energy already in play to just not really be affected by Iono at all. So like if you knock out their Fezandipiti, you're leaving too many energy in play, so then you're forced to give them access to that, but so you can't really plan on them whiffing. But that shouldn't matter because I don't have yeah, I just lost my train of thought. The hard part here is I have no way to one-shot them this next turn. It's gonna be extremely difficult because, like, obviously I can Magma Basin to my guy and attach, but then I have no way to retreat. So I don't know exactly why I promoted that. Huh. I guess I don't remember this game very well. Maybe I can't see the numbers right. That's possible. I thought, for some reason I thought there was a chance that I could end up doing enough damage with the Dodrio, but they do of course have a Bravery Charm, so that's not going to happen. So it looks like we're going to have to take this turn off. I choose to Vessel away the Magma Basin because there's 4 in the list, so there's pretty good odds. Like, I'm going to hit another one. I don't need all of them. I'd rather have this Snowy Mountain or whatever to bump it, as you can see. Now I can do a little bit of chip damage to the Raging Bolt. I'm confused. Yeah, this is not looking too good. I can Nest Ball for a Fezandipiti, move a couple damage over there, and hit him for a little bit. Yeah, I probably should. Oh, I didn't. I prized Fez. That's not good. But I can hit them for 160. And then next turn, if they were to gust up my Scovillain, I can knock them out with this. So it's kind of like I'm still going to be sticking a one prizer in the active. And hopefully if they knock out the Scovillain, I'll be able to get into an Iono him low, and leave a one prize attacking Pokemon in the active spot. So I think that we're looking not too shabby from this point, as long as they can't do back-to-back gusts, which they really shouldn't be able to. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, oh, alright. I was going to say, they don't even have enough energy to knock me out anyway, so I don't know what they're thinking. If they don't get enough energy, this is like a great example of why sequencing is just so important. And yeah, it looks like they didn't. So they never should have bossed before using their Teal Dance, seeing what they got off of it. And I don't believe they ever used Greninja. So they probably should have used the Greninja to get 2 cards instead of 1. I know you're getting 1 less energy in play, but you have better odds to get the retrieval, to get 2 grass, and then you can use boss. So poor sequencing kind of hurt them there. But I was going to say I can't knock them out, but I forgot that I already poked into them. So now our board is going to be like completely set up and good to go. I can Iono, see what I hit, and then I can Magma Basin to, yeah, probably just to the other Scovillain, so that I'm an energy away from attacking. But of course, I put it on the Radiant Charizard. I don't think that that was very correct, but I guess they can't gust stall me anyway, because they have way less cards in deck than me, so putting it on the Charizard really makes no difference. I think though, ideally, putting it on the Scovillain would be correct, so that like, if they knock this guy out, every Pokemon is like 1 energy away from attacking. So I think I messed that up. Alright, so this game, we are up against like the old school kind of Dragapult Charizard deck. I think it is leaning more into the Dragapult line. It looked like maybe a 101 or a 202 or 212 Charizard line. I can't exactly remember, but I've not run into this deck in quite a while, and it should be a pretty solid matchup. Like, Dragapult can definitely be rough because our draw engine, like, you know, is inherently weak to the damage counter spread, but we can also one-shot like a Pidgeot EX with a Dodrio, which is kind of nice. That does put us in a weird spot where they can knock at like boss and then knock out the Dodrio with just 1 damage counter, but anywhere else that they put the damage is kind of helping us. So it's weird. It's like a double-edged sword, kind of. It helps them because they can get the bonus knockouts, but it also helps us probably a little more because it helps us to do big damage. Now here I have to Nest Ball for Cleffa and just retreat. I attach the second energy with the, you know, Snowy Mountain or whatever in play because I do want the extra damage on my guy. I want to be able to build up to one-shot a Dragapult EX if I want to, and I need at least 5 damage counters on it. Like 5 damage counters on this guy and he one-shots anything. It's kind of wild. So I draw with Cleffa, you know, just taking the turn off. And we see why they failed their TM Evo. Their Dracloak was in hand, which is surprising to me because I'm pretty sure, yeah, as you can see, they play a really thick Dragapult line. So I'm shocked that they didn't play more than just 1 Dracloak, or they prized 2 or 3 of them. Now they just do that and hit me for 20. They put their Fezandipiti right in play, which is kind of wild. Like, I'm never knocking out a 1 prizer. I'm, gonna boss the Fezandipiti. Now that's bad sequencing. I got a little overexcited and bossed and retreated before using my ability. I think I forgot that I even had it. Here, for some reason thought I was taking one prize, and I was like, why won't it let me select my prize? But it was because I didn't click the second one. Alright, now my opponent is drawing cards, and yeah, they rare candy into a very nice looking Charizard, but that is not going to do, well actually it is going to knock out our guy. But we should be good. They left our stadium in play, so I'm guaranteed to get a knockout on them. And then I can Ultra Ball away like probably Manaphy and either Research or Iono for a backup Scovillain or whatever the baby one is called, Capsakid. And yeah, basically be good to go. I Basin onto my guy. Probably, yeah, it's probably Ultra Ball and Manaphy, but I end up doing Iono and Manaphy. There's really no need to Iono this game, I guess, because we're just so far ahead that it's gonna kind of screw us over more than it would screw them over. And we take a pretty easy one shot on that Charizard. I don't know, nothing is more satisfying to me than just one-shotting a Charizard. We have 40 damage counters. Now this is a weird thing for them because they can't one-shot this Scovillain. So if they just hit into us, they just lose. And this is kind of smart by them. Oh, I guess not. They were gonna put a Duskull in play and then use that combo to knock us out next turn, but then they realized they're not going to be able to use the Duskull because I'm going to take one prize, and the only real option that they had was to like play a Defiance Band or something in their deck, because if they hit us for 200 they just lose the game on the spot. So I think if like the meta ends up being like Charizard and maybe Hydreigon heavy, this could potentially actually be a decent deck. I don't know, I didn't play like 100 games with it or anything, but the games I did play made it seem like pretty strong. You can build up to one shots really quickly. It's kind of like Goldango, like I talked about earlier, where you're almost guaranteed to start a one prize Pokemon, which is really nice against all the fast like single basic beat stick decks, except for the Miraidon that can take advantage of Iron Hands. So that part is pretty cool. And I think that the main downfall of this deck is there's already a lot or quite a few really good just knock out the active, do big damage styles of decks. So, you know, you're competing with the likes of Roaring Moon, Raging Bolt, Goldango, even the new Ceruledge, and Ceruledge can take advantage of Briar and we can't. We do have the dual weakness, so like I said, if Hydreigon, Charizard, and even like Archaludon, which that's kind of weird because it does the attack does remove its weakness, but you can always boss around it. But maybe that kind of meta could shine, because the deck is like surprisingly consistent at getting big damage, and I'm sure that this is not the ideal build for it. There's probably a better way. I just couldn't think of any other cards that put damage onto like other Pokemon. Like there's the Gapejaw Bog, I'm pretty sure is still legal, but that's kind of weird because you want more. You don't want to play 4 of those. You want to play 4 Basin and then just 1 or 2 extra stadiums. I don't know. I don't know if it's ever going to be like a top contender except for in the right meta, but it is a pretty powerful deck, and having like a good one prize attacker is also kind of nice. But some possible changes: you could play this deck with Frostlass. I thought about that. You're damaging yourself, which is a little bit of a downside, so you might have to play Radiant Serena. But the upside is you can also passively knock out your opponent's stuff on the bench, and you can evolve a bunch of Scovillains at once and just like build up huge threats that one-shot anything. You could also play the baby Scovillain and 1 or 2 reversal energies with maybe like a Colress or something like that. I don't know, I think there's a lot to mess around with this deck. You could also play the Entei Forest Seal Stone package, and then you could have an excuse to play Arven, but I prefer to not play Arven if I don't have to. But the Entei Forest might be worth it since you can Basin and attach and attack with Entei. But yeah, those are the main changes I was thinking of. And I wanted to mention, I don't know, probably only like 4 people are going to make it this far in the video, but I did end up winning a cup yesterday, which I'm like basically 2 for 3. I've only been to 3 cups, and I won this one and then split in the finals in the first one that I went to. But I played Guardy, the Henry Child list, and if anyone that sees this is interested on me making a video kind of going over my matchups in the list and maybe like playing a game on live or something like that, let me know. So yeah, like or dislike, comment, and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.